you increase revenue in 2018. This is a topic I'm excited to share with you. This was probably our highest rated session we've ever taught, the one-page marketing plan, updated for 2018. I haven't taught this session in about a year and a half, but excited to share some updated content with you, some things that we're seeing, some case studies, success stories of some data along the way. There's also a great spreadsheet that we're going to send to all of our attendees today, the actual one-page plan part of it. When I first presented it, I would go through that spreadsheet and walk everybody through it and get glassed over eyes. So we're not going to look at a spreadsheet for the next hour together. I learned from past presentation mistakes, and we're not going to do that together. But we will be sending you a copy of that spreadsheet. So you'll hear me reference that a couple times throughout our presentation together today. So you'll definitely can circle back to that and use that spreadsheet as a great planning document for you. And I'll talk a little bit about that. There's also a great notes section on that spreadsheet with some notes on how to use that effectively for yourself. So if you've never been with us before, I know there's several first-timers just from those check-ins. Saw several first-timers. Welcome. We're glad that you guys are here. Our webinar series is something we do for the industry just as a way of giving back. We talk about the things that we're learning from marketing, things we're learning in marketing on behalf of our customers, and really work to share that with you and educate you through this webinar series. We do it about twice a month on various topics. Today we're going to talk about really building your marketing plan and the elements of a successful marketing strategy in 2018. This probably has more content packed into it than any webinar I've ever tried to teach in the past, or any session I've tried to teach in an hour. So it's going to be a lot. We're going to have to move through pretty quick, and we're getting off to a little bit of a couple-minute late head start due to our software glitches here. But hopefully all that is behind us, and we can keep things moving forward effectively. So that's a little bit about us. We work with various destinations and organizations from Singapore to Maui and just about everywhere in between. So the data that we're going to share comes from real customer examples and working with customers that we represent across the globe, although we're primarily US-based. It looks like our attendance today is representative of a very US-based attendance as well. So with that, let's take a look back at 2017 and really to see what happened in our industry. One of the big changes we saw in 2017 was a change from OTAs going from being a source of leads to being marketplaces that we compete against as we earn the relationship with our guests. We saw this across the industry. Some of those marketplaces grew, and the example of Airbnb cresting 4 million listings this year and growing into a competitive market we've never seen before. And some of those changed, like bedandbreakfast.com and HomeAway changing from what used to be directories into being OTAs. We're also seeing continued consolidation in the industry from purchases and acquisitions throughout the industry. We're seeing an overall cost to acquire a customer continuing to increase. We're seeing prices increasing for AdWords as well. In the third quarter earnings calls from all the online travel agencies, everybody talked about the fact that they were going to be increasing their paid advertising spend in 2018. And they talked about they increased their paid advertising spend that far into 2017, which was why they were reporting lower profitability than they expected. So if you're participating in paid search, chances are that will get increasingly competitive in 2018, and you'll see an increase in your cost to compete in that space. So that's a brief summary. There's a lot going on. As we look into our crystal ball for 2018, there's some things we know are happening and some things we predict are happening. One, we know HomeAway is increasing subscription pricing. A lot of our customers are getting ahead of that by renewing things early, but that's going to catch up at some point. We also know that OTAs across the board, HomeAway, bedandbreakfast.com, many of the different OTAs, Expedia, are introducing new fees to try to, one, take advantage of things that that they believe originated on their platform, or take advantage of bookings they believe originated on their platform, but actually ended up booking direct with you. That's specific to the VRBO platform. But many other OTAs are adding additional fees to try to find ways to make more money. You know, when they're reporting to their stockholders, they have to find ways to make more money. And as they look at their paid advertising costs going up and their margins getting a little bit tighter, they're going to have to pass that cost on to you at some point. So if OTAs or online travel agents are a big part of your marketing strategy, you need to think about that increasing in 2018 and that cost potentially increasing in 2018. We talked about that AdWords cost per click continuing to increase as more and more people spend money on paid search. And even if we've had a strong 2017, maybe you're coming off of 2017 and it's been the best year that you've ever had, and I hope that's the case for you, chances are that you're going to have to do things differently in 2018 to achieve your business goals. And that's really what we're trying to set out today to do, is set a strategy in place at a high level for how to start the process of achieving your business goals in 2018. So as you do that, one of the things we want you to do is really understand what happened in your business and measure your 2017 performance. So this is a quick snippet that will be in the one-page marketing plan for you to take a look at. But what happened in 2017 and how did it perform year over year? How are your bookings? How was overall traffic, organic traffic, email, blog traffic, social media, referral traffic, the size of your email database, the number of reviews that you all have? These are things that we recommend that you're tracking on a regular basis, because the way you're performing in all of these things are indicators of how your business is going to be performing from a booking perspective. In the same way, if you think about your medical exam, your doctor checks your weight, and he checks your heart rate, and he checks your percentage of body fat index, and he checks your, all these different factors that make up your personal health, and your doctor checks those on a regular basis. Actually, he checks them annually. You probably need to be checking these things a lot more than annually. But at the minimum, doing a review of 2017 and looking at how they performed annually to say what's going on. And then all of these combined is representative of your business's health. And there's tons of other statistics you could put in here to represent your business's health. But these are some of the top ones from a digital marketing perspective. So benchmark that. Benchmark that against yourself and your previous performance, but also we would say benchmark that against the industry. So here's some statistics across the industry, or at least our portion of the industry, that we wanted to share with you to kind of benchmark yourself against. Did you meet your bookings goal for 2017? Now, there's not a benchmark for that one, but you hopefully had a goal at the beginning of the year. Did you meet that goal or exceed that goal? Is your total website traffic up 25% versus a year ago? That's not necessarily an industry average. I would say the average company in the industry is probably flat or slightly down. But our customers see an average of 25 to 40% increase in their traffic this year. So knowing that, that's kind of a benchmark we use internally, is 25% increase in traffic, which is significant for most companies. So I would benchmark yourself against that, because I know that that's possible on the low end of average. Is your organic traffic up 20% versus a year ago? And this is important. It's important to be growing these things, because as we think about traffic to our site, traffic to your site, you can scratch it out if you could in Google Analytics. You can't, but I'd love if you could scratch out traffic and write potential guests or potential customers or potential travelers, because that's what it is. They're potential guests coming to your site, checking you out to decide if they want to make a booking. Is 8% of your email database visiting your website each month? We'll tell you how we get to that 8% as a benchmark later on in the presentation. Is your blog page delivering 30% of your overall traffic? Again, that's a benchmark we'll dive deeper into. Is your social media traffic up 10% versus a year ago? You'll see that one statistically is a little bit lower. That's because we don't recommend allocating as much of your marketing investment, and we'll talk about marketing investment later on as well, but as much of your marketing investment into social media. We tend to see it provides a lower ROI, so we don't recommend investing as much into it as some of the other areas. But still, you need to have a presence there, and you need to be investing into that. Is your following growing within social media? And then do you have 50 reviews or more on each of the 4 major review platforms? We've found that 50 or more is a minimum sweet spot, and we're working to get all of our customers to a place where they have 50 or more reviews. And I would encourage you to do the same thing. And we've got some great tools that can help you do that in 2018 if that's something that's a priority for you. So what got you here won't get you there. It's a quote that we've all heard. It's a common business thing that you hear in MBA school or wherever else you might have gone to learn about business. But what got you here won't get you there. And as you look ahead at 2018, what it's going to take to succeed in 2018 and achieve the goals that you set for your business is not the same thing that it's going to take to get here. I just came out of a meeting with a prospective customer this morning, actually, and they were talking about the success they've had and the growth they've had. And they said this exact same thing. They said, we know we need to do something different in 2018. We have to take it to another level if we want to achieve more than we've ever achieved before, was basically how they said it. And it was fortunate that they looked at me and said, and we think you guys are the guys to get us there. So that felt good. That was exciting. So a little success story for my morning. But that's what we're talking about, is that you have to have this kind of mindset that we have to do things different in 2018 to go somewhere we've never been before. And we're having those conversations with a lot of our customers to say, even the things we did for you last year aren't going to be the same things we have to do for you this year to get to the next level. And what does that look like to get to that next level for you as a customer? But also for you, if you're not our customer, as a business owner, just being able to say, okay, what am I going to do different in 2018? So let's set some goals for 2018. I'm a big goal setter. If you've talked to us before, you probably know that. If you've attended our webinars in the past, we talk a good bit about goals. Obviously, we want to see an increase in bookings, but by how much? Like, what's our goal for that? Most of our customers are trying to reduce dependency on OTAs or online travel agencies, but by how much? How are we going to do that? And I will, on this point, say, even maintaining your dependency on OTAs is a success story. I don't have the graphic for you here. I wish I did, but Focusrite, through a research study they predicted, basically said from 2012 to 2018 that the percentage share of travel booked on an OTA versus being booked direct was going to completely flip. In 2012, 70% of travel dollars were spent direct with a property. 30% were booked on an OTA. In 2018, they're predicting the complete corollary of that. 70% of all travel dollars will be spent on an OTA. 30% will be spent direct with the customer. So in a time where that shift is happening, and that's a very dramatic shift in a short period of time, you see something that major in an industry as big as travel. But in a shift where that's happening like that, if you can maintain your dependency on OTAs, that's success. Now, reducing dependency is success at a whole nother level. And that's exciting, because if you look at the industry shift, you maintaining your dependency is beating that industry shift. And then further reducing it from there is definitely a goal I would encourage you to go after in 2018. It starts with knowing it. It starts with knowing what percentage of your business comes from OTAs, and then being able to work to shift it back the other direction. And as you look at 2018 and you look at AdWords specifically, something we're encouraging people is you've got to think a little bit different about your AdWords budget, because two things are going to happen. One, your cost to compete in that marketplace is going to increase. We've already talked about that. So if you want that to be the same percentage of where your bookings come from in 2018, you have to increase your budget to maintain the same percentage of share that you've always had, because it's more competitive. But the opposite part of that is you might reallocate a portion of your AdWords budget. And with some of our customers that are spending a bit more in AdWords, we're really talking to them about reallocating a portion of that budget, because what we want to focus on is where are we getting the most value for our dollar spend. And there are a lot of opportunities to increase where you're spending, to reallocate where you're spending, increase in certain areas and decrease in others without increasing your overall budget, that might drive a higher ROI. And that's something I'd encourage you to think about in 2018, as we're planning for that specific marketing medium to increase from a cost perspective. And where are you going to place that investment? So now we've talked a little bit about setting goals. Now we're going to help you build a plan to achieve your goals. I tell you, we're going to move pretty quick today. I wasn't kidding when I said it. So we're going to have to move pretty quick to get all of our content in and get everything to you. But number one, it starts with a great website. Your website is your number one tool to compete against the OTA. And you really need to shift how you're thinking about your website. I had the opportunity to speak at HomeAways conference back in, I think it's September, October. Speak at so many conferences, it's kind of a blur from the fall. But one of the biggest takeaways I had from that conference was all the people they had on their stage talking about their marketplace, their staff that was coming out to talk about their marketplace. And they used that word very specifically. They weren't talking about their website. They were talking about their marketplace. And as such, you've got to think about your website as your marketplace. It's your opportunity to do business with the world. And it has to be great. The OTAs are working really, really hard to make their website better and better and better. And you have to work to make your website better and better and better. And here's a few questions we'd encourage you to ask yourself. Is it easy to book on? Is it fast for people to use? Is it easy for you to update? Does it have a modern design, or does it look out of date? It always blows my mind how many sites I go to on a regular basis, and I'm like, wow, this looks like it was built 10 years ago. And that is costing you business. In today's day and age, it's costing you business. People need something that is easy to use, and that is visually and written-wise, the written content engages them as a user. And then on the back end, you need it to be easy to use, because if it's not easy to use, or you can't get support fast, really fast support to make the decisions that you need to make, it will hold you back. And if it's holding you back and you're not making updates as regular as you need to, it's going to cost you business. People that can change and move quickly are the people that will succeed in this modern marketplace world, because we have to change and adapt quickly. We also need to understand that it's the hub of all your marketing efforts. So today's webinar is really about building a great marketing plan, and it's about driving more traffic to your website. But if you're driving more traffic to your site and it's not doing a great job of being that hub, you're shooting yourself in the foot. You're reducing the effect of the marketing work you're putting in, the money you're investing, the time you're investing into great marketing if your website's not in a great position. So a few questions on that side of it. Is your website supporting your marketing efforts? Is your blog design as an entrance point? Are you engaging visitors to grow your email list? Is your website converting traffic into bookings at a good rate? And are you set up to track your marketing goals effectively? That's a really important question. Are you tracking your marketing goals effectively? The next question I would ask you there is it future-proof? If you've been with us on very many webinars, you've heard us talking about our future-proof website platform. Essentially what that means is we have changed. We believe the future of website design is changing, that websites are going to function a lot more like software does in the future. And what that means is they're going to be built on platforms that enable the code to be updated on a very quick basis. The way the website design industry works right now is everybody launches individual projects or chunks of code, and that's a website. And they don't come back and update those unless the customer asks them to. And for you, that's probably a painful process if you've been through that and try to get your web developer to update your site. We've totally flipped the way we see that happening, and about a year ago started the process of launching our future-proof website platform, which basically means we can update all of our customer sites at one time. We can write code once and push it to all of our customers at one time, just like the software industry can with the software they create. We believe this is the future of the web, and we've invested a significant amount of money in our belief that this is the future. And there's a couple things this lets us do. It lets us keep up with the pace of change and push updates to our customers on a regular basis, but it also keeps their sites from being out of date. Most sites are written on code that already existed, and as such, they were out of date the day they launched. But when you're part of a future-proof platform, that never happens. Your stuff gets better all the time. So I would really encourage you to think about this, because I'm telling you this is where the future of the website design industry is going, so much so that we've made significant investments that we believe it's headed there. And all the technology people I talk to outside of the travel industry, but just technology people in general, believe that as well. So it's not like, hey, let's just trust Matt. Matt says this, it must be true. A lot of things line up that this is where things are going. But it's such a better solution to be a part of than something that's out of date the day it launches. So I encourage you to think about that. So as we set your plan, the next thing we're going to talk about, we've got to get that website in the right place. The next thing we want to talk about is email marketing. What's the goal? We're going to talk about that throughout our conversation today, but what's the goal? Our goals with email marketing are to maintain a relationship with our guests, stay top of mind, turn our past guests into repeat guests, and earn referrals from past guests. There's tons of other goals you might have in here, but those are some of the top 4 that we look at. As we work to accomplish those, we recommend sending 1 or 2 email campaigns per month, individual campaigns out to your entire database. We want to push specials and packages. We want to promote specific rooms or properties that we're trying to get bookings for. We want to position ourselves as a destination expert and share content with reasons to visit. Share the blog content that we're creating, which we'll talk about in a few minutes, on the blog content you need to create to succeed in 2018. You need to be pushing all this content out and sharing it on a regular basis, because your email database is an absolute goldmine. It's a list of people that are most likely to do business with you in the past. If you talk to most directors of sales in the industry, if you ask them a question, if I gave you a list of people that would be most likely to do business with you, would that be helpful for you? And every business owner or director of sales or marketing would tell you, absolutely, yeah, how do I get that list? And I'm telling you, you have it. It's your past guests, and you need to be actively marketing to those people. And in the same way that you're actively marketing to those people, we would highly encourage you to step into and embrace marketing automation as well. We've been doing marketing automation on behalf of our customers for about the last 5 to 7 years, but it's becoming more and more mainstream, and it's something we're going to be doing a lot more of in 2018. So highly encourage you to think about what role might marketing automation play in your email marketing strategy in 2018, helping get the right message to the right guest at the right time. As we look at email marketing, here's a few of the metrics we would encourage you to track. One, traffic from your email campaigns, right? That's great. We know we need to do that. Also, your open rates and click-throughs. The industry average for open rates and click-throughs, so some more data to benchmark against, is about 20% open rate for the travel industry. Click-through, the average is about 2% for the travel industry. Where we get our 8% from that I talked about earlier. Earlier, I gave you a goal of saying 8% of your database should come to your website in any given month. There's a couple places, or there's one specific place we get that goal from. We send, on average, 2 campaigns per month for our customers. And if they have a 4% click-through rate, that's 8% of your database. So two sends times the 4% gets you 8% of your database coming to your website on any given month. And this is huge because it's staying top of mind with those people that have done business with us in the past. And it's a huge part of how we're going to build a plan to climb this marketing mountain that we're on, and really positioning ourselves for success in the grand picture of what we're trying to do from a marketing perspective in 2018. But make sure you're measuring that performance and you know how it's working for you. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to jump in and talk about blogging for a few minutes. First, what's the goal of blogging? I think there's a lot of misconceptions around this. A lot of people don't understand the role that blogging plays. So let me set the foundation for that. First of all, there's a couple big things we want blogging to accomplish. One, we want it to establish ourselves and our website and our brand as a destination authority in the eyes of Google. We know we're doing this when we see branded search traffic increasing. So we want to become the destination authority because people want to do business with the destination authority. Whether that's more properties coming on for a vacation rental manager, or that's you being a good part of your local community for a boutique hotel or a bed and breakfast operator. People want to do business with the person viewed as the destination authority. So you want to establish that, and blogging will help you do that, and you can measure your effectiveness at that, because as you become more and more of a destination authority, you'll find more and more people start searching your brand name. And that's one of the things that we look at to measure success and say, okay, what is our branded search traffic? And we see that consistently on the rise for customers who are using a destination authority strategy as part of their blogging piece of what they do. The other thing we're looking at with blogging is that it's a tool to help us intercept travelers when they're in the planning stage of their vacation. So if you've been with us before and you've heard us talk about the 5 stages of travel: dreaming, planning, booking, experiencing, remembering. We're specifically trying to intercept travelers in the planning stage because that is before they reach the OTAs. When they go from planning into booking, that's when they're looking at accommodations. That's when they're making a decision on what they want to book. And the searches they're doing actually change in that stage. They go from searching things about planning their trip to searching more accommodation-specific things. We want to be there too, right? We will need to be right for those accommodation-specific keywords. But if we capture them when they're planning their trip, they probably won't book on that visit that they did to plan. And I'm going to show you how this works here in a few minutes with a real example. They probably won't book on that visit to your site, but it makes them aware you exist, and then it encourages them to come back to the site, either as a direct traffic, or they might search your name, again, driving branded search higher, because now they know you exist. But as part of that, you have to understand where these website visitors are and have a process to convert them into booking guests, knowing that they're probably not going to book on that visit to your site because, again, they weren't looking for accommodations when they got there. So understanding these people think and behave differently, you need to market to them differently. And we'll talk about some ways to do that throughout the time together we have as well. It's really important to understand this person is different. They're higher up in their sales funnel, if you will, dreaming, planning, booking. They're higher up that funnel. You have to think about them and address them differently. So if you're going to do a better job of blogging in 2018, which hopefully you are, hopefully you'll be inspired to do that after today's webinar, you want to first make sure that it's set up properly. So is it on your domain? Is your blog set up as www.yourdomain.com/blog? So in this example, Q4Launch.com/blog. It's important to have it set up that way because that is an indicator that's one way of showing that it is a part of your website, as opposed to www.blog.q4launch.com. which means it's not technically a part of my main website. It's a separate site, and Google sees it as a separate site, so we don't get credit for all that content. So make sure it's set up properly from a website structure perspective. Make sure that each URL contains .com/blog or whatever your URL is, whatever, .net, .com, .us/blog. It's important for it to contain /blog for tracking reasons that we'll show you here in a few minutes. Is it visually engaging? Does your blog really engage your audience and make them want to take a trip to your destination? Remember, these people are higher up that funnel, so we have to engage them. It has to be visually engaging, and the content has to engage your reader as well. And is it designed for consistency? Is it designed for conversion? There needs to be consistent design with the rest of your website, and it needs to have clear calls to action. And if you're a vacation rental manager or a hotel, you need to have a search ribbon on your blog that needs to be there to prompt people to make a search. If you're an inn or a B&B or a smaller boutique hotel, you probably need to have a rooms or an accommodations call to action on your blog. People don't search the same way on most sites, so you need to serve that information and those calls to action up differently based on which type of accommodation you're representing. So here's a little bit of the how-to from a blogging perspective. One, we'd recommend that you plan to blog weekly. We either do weekly or bi-weekly for most of our customers. We would recommend 500 to 700 words per blog post, although we are seeing greater success with posts of longer length. So encourage you to think about that. Each blog needs to be keyword focused. So in this example we're showing you here, Hocking Hills Hiking Trails is the keyword that we went after. And then your blog page and blog posts need to be designed to encourage that person to book. So we talked about that a little bit in that last one, but really understanding what that looks like. Having the engaging buttons that invite a person to search or book or provide their email address. Have that lead conversion opportunity. Have links in the body of your post that drive people to view rooms or properties, view specials, or browse things to do. So you need to have links throughout your content that think about the various places someone might be. So if you think about dreaming, planning, booking, you should have links in your content that address someone at all three of those stages in the process, because you have people reading your blog that are at all three of those stages in the process. And this is a mistake we see a lot of people make with their blog content, is they don't have good internal linking as a part of their blog, and it really holds them back. We also recommend having related posts at the bottom of your individual blog post. It's just another way to get them to go deeper down that rabbit hole. So they land on a blog because they search Hocking Hills Hiking Trails and they land on that blog, but then we want them to see related posts. We want them to see other things that they might be interested in. And as you're doing that, we want to track the success of it. So I talked about that. So having /blog in the URL of every blog post enables us to see the performance of all of our blog traffic. And we're going to be able to look at that in a few minutes. But it also enables us to look at individual posts and understand what are our highest performing blog posts. If you didn't have /blog in the URL of every post, it would be a really time-intensive process to analyze the performance of individual posts. But with that URL tag in there, we can search in Google Analytics and track the performance of our blog in a matter of seconds as opposed to hours if you didn't have it set up that way. So this blog that was written in February of 2017, I don't know if you can see that or not, but I'll zoom in on that. This blog has driven 4,000 people to our website this year, or excuse me, in 2017. I'm used to saying this year to date, but it's a whole new year now. So this one blog post drove 4,000 people to our site. 78% of those people were new sessions, or 78% of those people had never found this customer before. It's new traffic that didn't know they existed. So that's great, right? Because we're getting in the path of new customers. We're using other parts of our strategy to bring old customers back again, but this is a big part of our strategy to bring new people back to our website. So that's a really, really important part of what we're trying to do. And one blog post delivering 4,000 visits to a website is hugely successful. Measure performance. That's the other big part that we need to talk about with every marketing medium we have. But is the blog driving traffic to your website? I do a ton of analytics analysis. I probably do 500 of them a year. And as we look at the different things and ask people who are blogging on a regular basis, like, well, how's that performing for you? One, it's rare to find someone who's blogging on a regular basis. Two, it almost never happens that I find someone who can answer the question, well, how is that performing for you? And I don't mean that in a tricky gotcha, I'm smarter than you kind of way, but you need to know. If you're committing the resources to blog regularly, you need to know how it's performing and bringing traffic to your website. Is your e-commerce attached to organic traffic being tracked properly? Are you tracking individual blogs to see which ones are performing really, really well so that you know how to optimize those further for it? Are you seeing a large percentage of traffic enter your website via your blog? And do you have past blogs that need to be revitalized? All some really important conversations and things to be thinking about as part of measuring performance. With our customers that have been with us 2, 3, 4 years, one of the most important things we do for them is keep track of how their past performing blogs are performing. Because if you had a blog that did really, really well last year, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to do really, really well this year. But if you're not tracking that and you don't know what to do if it stops doing well, right? It's a year old, it's 2 years old, it's 3 years old. Google might start dropping it in the rankings because it's old. It's less relevant today than it was when you published it. So for a lot of customers, we go back and rewrite those posts for several reasons. One, if it starts dropping in the rankings, we want to get it back to the top to keep bringing in that great traffic. But two, we know Google's algorithm has probably changed since we wrote that post. So to continue to succeed, we need to do a better job of it. And three, we're smarter than we were 3 years ago. We know more about what it takes to get somebody to convert from a blog into a lead or from a lead into a booking. So there's so many reasons why you might want to go back and update some of that past content you've created. And as you think about the role your blog is playing in your overall marketing, our average customer sees 30% of their total monthly traffic enter the website via the blog page. So most people think about their blog as a place that people navigate to and they read whatever's there. But if you're doing blogging and content marketing well, the way your blog will actually work is to bring people into your website. That's what we were talking about earlier. Get in the path of people when they're planning their trip to your destination. So you need to be able to track what percentage of your traffic enters the website via your blog. And that's why the design of that is so important, because chances are your web developer didn't think about the fact that people would be entering your website via the blog. If they did, they would have probably designed it significantly differently than they designed it. And that's just kind of what we see across the industry as a whole, because people don't take a lot of time and intentionality with how they're designing your blog. And here's a few just kind of statistic shots there of what a good, healthy blog can look like. This is actually statistics from that same person we were looking at to see, let me see if we can zoom in here, to see how the blog is performing. So that first is that blog we wrote, that Hocking Hills Hiking Trails blog we wrote. Wrote it in February, saw a little bit of traffic that month, but it really started to take off in May. May is probably where it really picked up and started ranking. And then from May through December, had 4,000 visits to that blog. Huge success, with a peak in October with 865 people discovering that customer just from that one blog post. Their blog as a whole brought about 75,000 people to their website that year. Unbelievable success, averaging there about just north of 5,000 a month, with peaks in July and October at around 7,800 visits per month. And then when you look at that in year-over-year performance, right, we want things to be growing, continuing to see that blue line above the orange line year after year after year. Blogging is a strategy that the longer you do it, the better it gets. The more blog posts you have out there, the more consistent you are with the quality of your content, the better you will do from an overall ranking and performing perspective. So we continue to see blogs perform year over year better and better and better as we're effectively managing that. And that growth is a really important part of what we want to see from a blog perspective. The second year beats the first year, the third year beats the second year, continues to build on itself. Social media is the next thing we really want to tackle. We're not going to spend a ton of time on this, but what is our goal for social media? I think a lot of people manage social media, and as I study or as I talk to people about where they're allocating their time, the number one place people are spending time with their marketing is in social media. But the lowest ROI they get of any marketing medium is social media. So they're spending the most amount of time in the place that's going to provide them the lowest ROI, which tells me that they're not really establishing goals for their marketing, or they would understand that's probably not the best place to do. But one goal we have for social media is driving traffic to the website. Of course, that needs to be a goal. Part of it is supporting our position as the destination expert and working towards that. Social media is a great way and an important part of that strategy. Providing custom content that makes a person want to visit your destination. Again, that ties back to that previous one, but really engaging the user and making them want to come back. Using it to encourage likes and shares. That like and share is important because it's going to help broaden your exposure and help you reach new people. It's going to help you reach the people you're engaging with more consistently, and it's going to help you reach new people as well and get your stuff in people's news feeds more often. And then the last is it's a great tool to fill last-minute cancellations, especially in peak season. You can use it to fill last-minute cancellations by putting up a post of what inventory you have available at the last minute and boosting that post to your drive market. You can be very, very successful at doing that. As you're doing that and you're working on a strategy, we'd encourage you to plan to post 3 to 5 times per week per platform that you're engaged on. One of those posts should be your blog for the week. So hopefully you're blogging on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. So that's one social media post. Don't just let that auto feed to social media. Write a custom post, or write a custom social post to drive people back to your blog post. Share beautiful photos of your area and properties. People love photos, especially in social media. Actually, a lot of things we are doing differently with blogging today are because of the things we've learned from some of the success we've had in social media. And that's the power of integrated marketing. Things we're learning in social media are impacting what we're doing in email and blogging and various other things. Link directly back to specific rooms or properties that you want to promote. That's important as well so that people can get back there. You can see an example of this post here. We reached 4,800 people by linking back to a cabin. Really successful post, tons of engagement, lots of reach on this post, and drove 214 people back to our website off of one social media post to check out one of our cabins. And then boost posts that may drive business. So I think a lot of people blow a lot of money on boosted posts, and other people don't spend any money on boosted posts, but maybe they should. But when you're doing that, think about the posts that are going to drive business for you and focus on boosting those. Because if you're boosting posts that aren't going to drive business, there's really no way to get an ROI. But if you're boosting posts that drive business, it's an opportunity to drive ROI. As you're measuring performance of social media, your social media growth should look something like the chart on the right there. You need to be seeing consistent growth in your social media. It's important because that is the people that you have the opportunity to reach. So we want to grow our following and our audience. So when we post something about a cabin or a property or a room or a last minute vacancy or whatever, a special, a package, a blog we just wrote, we have built an audience to be able to get that message out to. It will help us successfully secure bookings, even though it is going to be a lower percentage of it's going to be a small percentage of bookings compared to some of our other sources. We want to make sure people are staying engaged with us as well. So keeping that engagement will keep our content in front of them on a regular basis. So focus on growing your following in 2018 by 5 to 10% per month and trying to bring in more traffic to your website. A good goal is 150 visits a month, but that might be lower than you're at, and you might need to set a higher goal. That might be significantly higher than you're at. It might seem unattainable. I don't know. But set a goal about growing your traffic from social media, and you're going to have to change the way you manage that to be able to grow that in 2018. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about search engine optimization as well. You guessed it. What's our goal? Our goal is to get found by more people who are looking for accommodations at your destination. Like, that's it. We're trying to get in the path of people when they're planning a trip to your destination so we can get more bookings. I would look at your previous research, your keyword research, the traffic that you've had, do your research, and set a goal to increase traffic 25%. You have to have a goal to increase traffic. If you don't set a goal, you'll be okay with just settling for that status quo and not getting anywhere. You need to identify high-value keywords and optimize your website for them. And you need to think about some things outside the box as well. As search engine optimization and AdWords and everything is getting more and more competitive, you really need to be thinking about keywords differently. So if you're working with an SEO professional who is not a part of our industry, I would highly encourage you to switch, because optimizing for our industry is really different than what you do to optimize for everything else. So if you hire somebody and they work with an optometrist, they work with the local retail store, they work with you, they work with somebody else, they don't know this industry and they don't know the keywords people are searching for. We have particular keywords that convert as high as like 4 to 5%, but that's because they're very, very targeted keywords. So you really need to hire a professional that knows our industry to help you do this. As part of that, they're gonna make recommendations on landing pages that you need to build with content that Google will love. Your written content on your site is way more important than you think it is, both for driving organic search traffic, but also for bringing that people, for getting the conversion from the people who come in. So you really need to think about those landing pages and the content in 2018 differently than you have before, because there's a tremendous opportunity. For example, one of our most successful pages on our site is a blog that I wrote about TripAdvisor business listings. I didn't even write it for the search traffic. I wrote it to answer our customers' questions. We get questions all the time: is my TripAdvisor business listing worth it? So I wrote a blog to answer the question: is my TripAdvisor business listing worth it? And now we get thousands and thousands of visits every year to our site from people searching, is my TripAdvisor business listing worth it? And various keywords related to that. But we answered a question. We created content Google loved. They served that up to people, and then we've gone back and optimized that to make that a lead generating source for us. And we get leads from that blog every single week. And you need to have a strategy to do something similar, obviously relevant to your own destination. So as you're thinking about SEO, make sure that you're tracking how things are performing. The number one way to track SEO is organic traffic to your site. Our customer sees an average increase of 25 to 40% in organic traffic year after year after year. It's harder the longer you're at it to continue to drive those kind of growth, or continue to drive that kind of percentage growth, because your base gets bigger and bigger and bigger. But you need to be looking at that. It's difficult to do that at an individual keyword level. Everything Google does is to make it hard for you to track things at an individual keyword level. Not saying you can't track ranking at an individual keyword level. You can, but that's not necessarily your number one metric you should be looking at, because SEO today is more about a body of work than one specific keyword. And it's really difficult to say, I'm going to pick one keyword and I'm going to hang my success hat on that keyword. So I would encourage you, as you're thinking about SEO and you're thinking about your success, to take a more macro look at how is my organic traffic performing year over year. Is that growing? And then look at landing pages. The landing pages are important as well, because based on what landing pages are coming in on, your strategy is going to change. But I wouldn't necessarily just hang your hat on like one keyword. And if your SEO company is trying to hang their hat on one keyword, I would dive a little bit deeper, because chances are there's more information you need to be looking at that you may not be looking at to determine success of your search engine optimization strategy. And in a time where people are telling you, a lot of marketing people are telling you SEO is dead, or SEO is not something you need to be focused on, or this or that, that's absolutely not true. SEO is changing, like everything is changing. Google's probably changing faster than just about most things, but you need to have an engaged strategy to do that. And if you have an engaged strategy and you know what you're doing, and you're really focused on creating great quality content Google will love, you can win the SEO battle. You don't have to be the number one person to win the SEO battle. You can try to be the number one person, and that's great. And for many of you, that's probably attainable in your marketplace. But just because you can't be the number one person doesn't mean it's not worth going after. But you've got to put on your strategy hat. You've got to really focus on how you're going to create quality content that Google is going to love, and go after it from an SEO perspective. And when you do, you can drive tremendous success in your organic search traffic. But it is definitely a time-intensive process, which is one of the big reasons we recommend hiring a professional for this, because it's a very different skill set that goes into SEO. It takes a team of people to succeed in SEO. You can't do it alone. You can't do it with one or two SEO people. You really need a team of people working together to make that happen. Referral traffic. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this, but look for local referral partners. It can be a really high source of traffic. As so many directories are switching onto the OTA model, you need to find more sources of referral traffic this year. Most referral sources are declining year over year as we look at their traffic. So you need to find ways to replace that traffic. Otherwise, your business will suffer because that traffic will decline in 2018 in many cases. So you need to be finding new sources of referral traffic and creating landing pages that are specific to those things. That's really important as well. Creating a specific landing page for that referral source can make that traffic convert at a much higher rate. You also should be looking at reputation management in 2018. As I said earlier, our goal is to have 500 plus reviews on every platform, and make sure you're focusing on Google as part of that as well. You can see this example here. This particular customer uses our 5-star review web app. If you'd like more information about that, definitely reach out to me. We'll get you more information. but we have a new app that we released in 2017 to help you text your guests to get more reviews. This customer is using it and has 125 Google reviews. So we're really excited to see. So you definitely need to be focusing in 2018 on getting more 5-star reviews. And then creating seasonal packages as well. People are looking for vacation experiences, but are getting lazier and lazier and getting busier and busier. If you can cater to that by creating packages, people will thank you for it in the form of bookings, making it easy for them to have a great experience. Make sure you're doing great analytics tracking as well. You need to be reviewing your analytics data at least monthly and understand where your traffic and bookings are coming from. We started at the top of this conversation by talking about analyzing how your performance was in 2017. I cannot stress how critical that is. You need to understand how your marketing performed in 2017. I was in another meeting this morning with a prospective customer, and they had no idea how their traffic was performing. And once we got in there, we could see that there were some significant issues. One, their tracking was a mess, but two, we found some issues that were real issues that their current marketing providers were not doing a very good job. But if they weren't in their analytics, they'd have no idea. They'd have no idea that their marketing people weren't doing a good job. So you need to really be looking at that data and saying what's going well and what's not. And I would encourage you to do that in a very timely manner. There's no time like the present. You know, we're at the beginning of a brand new year, which is an exciting place to be. But as you're working on your 2018 strategy to drive more traffic to your website, remember, traffic is prospective customers. So as we drive more prospective customers to our website, we need to know what our plan is to be able to do that effectively, and reviewing our analytics is a great way to do that. So we're going to actually help you with that today. That's something we are set up to help you do. So we'll talk about that in just a minute, but we want to make our team available to help you understand your Google Analytics and dive into what's going on there. As you think about your overall investment as well, you really need to focus on return on investment and return on time. So time and money are the two scarcest resources we have, and you need to think about, for you, which is more scarce. And based on which is more scarce, it will inform the marketing decisions that you make. If time is your scarcest resource and the hardest thing to find more of, chances are you probably should work with a marketing partner in 2018 to help you drive this growth. If money is your scarcest resource and you never seem to have enough to achieve your goals, but you have spare time, I got plenty of time, I don't know what to do with it, but I don't have any spare money, chances are you need to take some of the things we're teaching you today, buckle up, and take that extra time you have and do them yourself. So which of those two buckets do you fall in? I've got plenty of time, but not enough money. You're going to fall in that do-it-yourself bucket. I've got more money than I do time. Nobody's ever going to say I got plenty of money. Well, I got more money than I do time. Maybe you need to partner with somebody you trust to be able to help you with your marketing in 2018. As part of that, you need to understand marketing is an investment, not an expense. Your accountant will tell you it's an expense, but you need to know it's an investment. And you're going to invest into that in 2018. I know you are, because you're starting the year off by being on a webinar like this, which tells me you're focused on investing your time in that in 2018. And as you're investing time and you're investing money into that in 2018, you need to understand how you're going to track the performance from a return on investment. You also need to understand how aggressively you want to go after that. How aggressively are you trying to grow your business in 2018? Because that will indicate how much you need to invest in marketing. Or how competitive your marketplace is. That will also inform that decision. And as you're thinking about that, think about how those things, you getting more time back by hiring somebody to work with, or you investing in marketing either way from a time or money perspective, will improve the guest experience and relationship. What does that look like to improve that guest experience and relationship? As we look at that and we track it, our customers see on average a 200 to 300% return on their investment with Q4 Launch. And we hit that 95% of the time, which is extremely exciting for us. But we look at that big picture of return on investment measured by time and money. And time is something people don't think about all that often. But what is your time worth? That's an important thing for you to really consider and understand. So what's your next step? We'll be sending you a recording of this webinar so you can review it. We know we had tons of content backed in here. We were trying to get to you in a relatively fast amount of time, so we went really, really quick. We'll provide you with a one-page document to help you plan and track your marketing performance. There's literally hundreds of check boxes on this document so you can see and track your performance for marketing throughout the year. You'll see pre-filled lines where we've actually filled it out for you and said, these are the things you need to be doing and created little colored boxes. So you can print that out, go print it on like a nice, like heavyweight cardstock, or keep it as a document on your computer, whichever way you work better. I would encourage you to print it and put it up at your workstation so it's there in front of you all the time. And each of those little boxes is actually designed as a checkbox, so you can check that right off as you're working on your marketing. You'll also see several blank lines that aren't filled in. Those blank lines on that document are there for you to fill in your own marketing. So we pre-filled a lot of things you need to do from a marketing perspective in 2018. But there are going to be other things. There's going to be things like attending Chamber of Commerce meetings and things like going to trade shows or wedding expos or whatever. Fill those things in too, because that's an important part of your marketing plan. Don't ignore those things. And really start checking those boxes off. That accountability will really help you as you're working that way. But honestly, before you start any of that, start with Google Analytics analysis. You need to measure where you are to then be able to develop a plan of where do you want to go. So we're making ourselves available to do a free Google Analytics analysis for you. All you have to do is check that box, yes, I want a Google Analytics analysis, and we'll follow up with you to schedule that with you. If you don't want us to follow up with you, no worries. Just say, no, thank you, I've got it. We totally understand that. But if you want help figuring out where are you, how did your 2017 perform against your 2016, which is a great place to start the process of informing the decision making you're going to make in 2018 and the strategy you're going to put in place for 2018, check that yes box and we'll follow up with you to get more information to you there. We do have to have about 70% of people who attend the webinar actually vote to be able to move the webinar forward. So right now we're almost there. If you haven't voted on that poll, simply check yes or no. We don't care which one you check, but check yes or no so we can keep people engaged and move the webinar forward for everybody. We're also getting ready to start our questions and answers. So I know we've already got a few question and answers in the checkbox, or excuse me, in the chat box there. So if you have questions, feel free to put those questions there. We will make sure that we get those questions answered for you. But if you want that Google Analytics analysis, check yes. If you don't, check no, and we'll get moving forward there. The best thing to attach to this is provide those actionable ideas that you can implement today. Awesome. Looks like we can go ahead and get that closed out and move things forward here. So again, we're going to use our chat panel for Q&A. So if you have questions, go ahead and fill those in. We want to spend a few minutes answering your questions here. If you have any questions that you don't want to ask in the chat panel, or you'd like to know a little bit more about what it looks like to work with us, anything like that, please get in touch. My email address, my phone number is there. You can also follow us at facebook.com/Q4Launch. So if you want to stay in the know on what's going on at our organization, definitely you can do that by at facebook.com/Q4Launch. So now we're going to jump into the chat panel here. What are your thoughts on Yelp? Question here from Mike. What are your thoughts on Yelp? My traffic is low at the moment, but my conversion from Yelp are 5 times higher than my average. Great question, Mike. We see Yelp used a lot more in the restaurant industry than we do the lodging industry. So that's one statistic. We also see it a lot more active on the West Coast than the East Coast. So Mike, I'm not sure where you're checking in from today, but we see it a lot more active on the West Coast than the East Coast. But the fact that you're seeing it tracking or converting 5 times higher than average is great. That means it works for you. Wherever you are, whatever your business is, whatever model you've got, it's working for you, so that's great. I am personally not a Yelp fan just from a business ethics perspective, which is a conversation for another day. But it sounds like Yelp is working great for you, so I would keep after it. Question here from Alana. Hopefully I said your name right. How many photos per blog post do you suggest? Great question. There's not like a set number. I would recommend having a great quality hero image at the top to really engage that user right off the bat. And then as you're moving throughout your content, having smaller photos that are relevant to whatever it is that you're talking about. So making sure your photos match up to that. Photos are a great way to create white space or create visual breaks in your content as well, which can keep it engaging for people, but also keep it from being overwhelming from a content perspective. There's no set number. Make sure you optimize those photos though. Make sure the size of them isn't too big because that will slow it down. Make sure you've thought about how they're going to show up on mobile, some of those types of things for your content. But overall, the design of your blog is probably even more important than how many photos, or definitely more important than how many photos are in an individual post. Question from Catherine. Matt, what are your thoughts on blog.domain.com versus domain.com/blog? Absolutely correct. Great question, Catherine. We addressed that earlier in the webinar today. You absolutely have to have domain.com/blog. You are hurting yourself if you have blog.domain.com. And there's tons of information available on that. It used to be years ago that people were pretty well split on the way that should function. But I will tell you, we have migrated customers from one to the other, from blog to .com/blog, with huge success from switching them over. And the main part is, if you have domain.com/blog, is setting it up so it's a part of your website. I won't get into all the technical terms, but it makes it a part of your site as opposed to a separate site. Question here from Kristen: what's a good bounce rate for a blog post? Honestly, Kristen, there is no answer to that question. We have blog posts that bounce lower than our site averages, like down around 10–20%, and we have blog posts that bounce higher than that. So I would look at a blog and I would understand, where is that blog in the 5 stages of travel. Based off of that, your bounce rate is going to be different. But no matter what a bounce rate is, I would say, what could I do to make this bounce rate lower? Maybe your bounce rate is 80% on a blog, and maybe that's okay. But what is it? What could I do to make that bounce rate lower? And that's where the design of it really comes in, and where some of those things I talked about earlier can help drive that bounce rate lower. Also, why might somebody be bouncing? Is the content not good for the keyword I was targeting? That might be part of it. So, but the other part of it is, a bounce is not the end of the world. Like, you might have a past guest come read a blog, love it, bounce off your website, and do nothing else. That's a good thing. If you had a past guest engage with you by reading a blog, that's okay. That's awesome, because we've achieved top of mind awareness. We got them thinking about whatever we wrote our blog about. Maybe they're not going to book today. Maybe they're going to go home, talk to their significant other. They're going to come back and book at a later time. But that's a great place to be. I think a lot of people are using bounce rate on blogs, and they're misusing that information. They're using that to try to say blogging is not important, it doesn't matter, or this traffic is junk, it doesn't matter, when in reality they just don't understand it. They don't understand the role that it plays in the overall travel process. It's absolutely different traffic, different quality traffic, but it's not bad or junk traffic like some people would like to make you believe it is. Question here from Leslie: what is the best way to get search for relevant searchable keywords to rank better? Not 100% sure your question, but I'm guessing, what is it the best way to get your content to rank better? Leslie, I could teach a 4-year degree on that topic, so I can't necessarily answer that specifically. I would encourage you to ask that question. If you said yes to the Google Analytics analysis question, that's a great question for you to ask us, when we can go deeper one-on-one with you and look at specific content you're talking about. Question from Debbie: how do we find out what content Google loves? You'll find out what content Google loves because it will be ranked and it will be bringing you traffic. So you'll find that in your Google Analytics analysis, in your Google Analytics. Another great reason to do a Google Analytics analysis. And then you can figure out, based on that, how to create more of it. Question here from Peter: what are the 4 top review sites that you want 50+ reviews each on? It's a little bit different for each niche within the travel industry, but the 4 big ones that we're looking at are Google, TripAdvisor, Yelp, and Facebook. So those are kind of the big 4 that we're looking at. Now, that does vary a little bit. The reason Yelp made that list where it probably wouldn't have before is that Siri, Apple's search function, uses Yelp data to rank what they think best is. A lot of people ask the question with voice search, what is the best blank? And they lean on Yelp reviews to feed them that data and determine what they think best is. Question here from Kristen: when you revitalize a blog post, do you repost or just save it where it is? We have a whole thing on how to revitalize a blog post, but the basics of it is, I would update the publish date, because oftentimes you'll see in Google search results that the publish date is listed, and if the publish date is 2 years old, then people won't click on the content when it shows up in search results as often, and it indicates to Google that you've updated the content by updating that post date. So you would see mixed results if you ask that question of Google. You see a lot of people with different thoughts on that, but we update the posted date. I would keep the URL structure the same, but I would update the posted date. Question from Lisa: what was the quantity for these reviews? We recommend getting 50 or more reviews on those platforms I talked about. We found that 50 is kind of a sweet spot, and our 5-star review app is really good at helping people get to that number effectively. So if you want more information on that, simply ask me for more information. My email address is on the screen, and we can get you connected with more information. Or you can go to Q4Launch.com/5stars, Q4Launch.com/5stars.com to get more information about our 5-star review app. So hopefully that was helpful for everybody. We are going to wrap up. We're just past 2 o'clock at the top of the hour here. Thank you, everybody, for coming today. Appreciate your patience. We were working through some technical things right at the beginning, but hope that you learned a lot, and hopefully you were well on your way towards spurring some ideas and make some changes to your marketing plan in 2018 and take things to the next level. We look forward to talking to you again soon and look forward to seeing you on our next webinar.